Oh, the battle over transparency at the White House, as a growing number of journalist groups charge that the Obama administration is giving out too little information and too much misinformation. But the new White House press secretary, Josh Earnest, sees it very differently. He's doubling down on the transparency issue. Listen.
I have a responsibility in this job to try to help the president live up to his commitment to be the most transparent president in history. And if you look at some of the steps that we've already taken.
I'm surprised you still said that line. Yeah. Most transparent president in
Absolutely.
history. He has been criticized so many times for saying that, given the prosecutions of whistleblowers and other steps.
Yeah.
You all still stick by that line?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Joining us now, Jim Pinkerton, contributing editor and writer for the American Conservative magazine, and Alan Colmes, host of the Alan Colmes Show, author of Thank the Liberals for Saving America. Both of them Fox News contributors, both of them quite transparent. Jim,
that's why I'm wearing a light suit today.
What do you think, Jim, about Josh Earnest's claim that, yes, indeed, this is the most transparent?
Well, you can begin with a letter last week from the Society of Professional Journalists urging the president to be more transparent and saying this is a secretive administration. This is the Society of Professional Journalism is what it sounds like. A trade association has been around since 1909 for journalists. They were joined in signing that letter by 36 other media groups, including the Poynter Institute, including also a group called Investigative Reporters and Editors called IRE. It's a pretty well-known group. What can you say except that the entire journalistic professional establishment disagrees with the paid spokesperson for the Obama White House about how transparent they are?
You are, Alan, a professional journalist.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, well, okay.
No, I'm really not. I'm not a journalist. I'm an advocacy broadcaster, but I wouldn't call myself a journalist. But why? I'm not shocked that journalists somehow feel that an administration is not transparent enough. I mean, there's nothing shocking about that. And a Fox News opinion poll out just this morning shows that, well, about 38% say they're as transparent, 27% say they're more transparent, which means about 65% say this administration is either as transparent or more than previous administrations.
But it's not shocking to find that journalists are upset that there's not enough transparency.
But you look at the numbers there on that top line, especially, Jim, in August of 2010, you had about 1 in 4 Americans thinking maybe that this was not as transparent an administration as in the past. Now the number is up to 1 in 3, roughly 34%.
Right. I mean, and the public is reacting to the findings of, for example, Len Downey, who is the former executive editor of the Washington Post, who's now a journalism professor at Arizona State University, and he issued a giant report just last year on secrecy again, and how the Obama administration's effort, including the effort to wiretap James Rosen of here Fox News and also the Associated Press, and trace down all the other leaks, are undermining. This is Len Downey, the Washington Post guy, talking investigative journalism. Now, again, because it's the Obama administration, as opposed to, say, the Nixon administration or the Bush administration, the media aren't as up in arms as they could be. If this were done by a Republican president, I think they'd be talking about impeachment right now. Instead,
they're already talking about impeachment.
It's just journalists talking. No, but the journalists will be talking about it, not just a few on the right.
They may be talking about impeachment on other issues, but not necessarily on freedom of the press.
Which itself is ridiculous. But yes, I agree. I wish this administration were more transparent.
I wish every administration were more
transparent. It is normal for those of us on the broadcasting side of things to want as much transparency as possible, and no governmental presidency or agency is ever going to be transparent enough to satisfy the desires of broadcasters, ever. It's never going to happen.
But what about, Alan, what about a guy like James Rosen, who's just doing his job for Fox News and gets put, in professional jeopardy, getting his email records sifted through, by the Justice Department?
How far that extends into the White House, I'm not sure. Whether the president himself was involved, of course, has never been shown. But yes, I agree with you. There should be certainly much more transparency concerning that issue and among many, many others. But there's nothing surprising about this lack of transparency.
Well, Jim, since the president usually finds out about major crises in his administration by reading them in the newspaper, I'm going to assume that he didn't know that the White House was tapping into James Rosen's emails.
Right. Although, of course, Eric Holder is President Obama's not only employee but also friend, and so you have to assume that eventually Holder would get around to telling Obama that he's launched an unprecedented wiretapping and surveillance effort against the media. You think that, and at some point the president and maybe even Josh Earnest would find out about it, and then not be able to say with a straight face how transparent they are, when in fact they're doing just the opposite. As even Al acknowledges. I
would like to point out this is probably the most investigated presidency in history. You got there Eliza, who vowed he wanted to spend 40 hours a week doing nothing but investigating this presidency. This is the only president who had to show 2 different versions of a birth certificate. I mean, I know how much more they want to investigate this particular executive branch, but it's come under more scrutiny than I think any other president.
Maybe Nixon, Bush 43. Come on, Alan, give us a break.
This is nothing but scrutiny day after day. Now they want to impeach him? Come on.
All right.
They did impeach Nixon.
Yes, no, they didn't. Nixon left before they were going to impeach him.
They voted on the Judiciary Committee.
They were certainly on their way. All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Jim Pinkerton, Alan Colmes, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.